You know, we're always taught that profit is king. It's the number everyone looks at. But what if I told you that a company showing millions, even billions, in profit could be just a few steps away from going bust? Today, we're going to dig past those shiny headline numbers to find the one metric that really tells you if a business is built to survive.
So let's just start with this bombshell question. Can a company that's officially profitable, making a ton of money on paper, actually go bankrupt? It sounds kind of nuts, right? I mean, profit equals success. Or does it?
And the answer is a resounding yes. It happens all the time. And this gets right to the core of it. See, profit is an accounting concept. It's a number on a spreadsheet. You can't take that profit and use it to pay your employees or keep the lights on. For that, you need cold, hard cash in the bank. And the gap between the two is where even successful companies can fall into a death spiral.
So, if we can't always trust profit, what metric can we trust? Well, let me introduce you to the Fixed Charge Coverage Ratio, or FCCR for short. This isn't just another piece of financial jargon. For lenders, for savvy investors, this is the ultimate survival metric. It asks one simple, brutally honest question. Does the company actually generate enough cash to pay the bills it absolutely cannot avoid paying? Okay, let's break that down. Think about your own personal finances for a second. The FCCR is like looking at your actual take-home pay and comparing it to your essential, must-pay bills. You know, your mortgage, your car payment, your insurance. If your ratio is, say, 2x, it means you have twice the cash you need to cover those non-negotiable bills. That's a nice, healthy cushion. But if your ratio dips below 1x, well, you're in some serious trouble.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the pros calculate this thing. You can forget the simple formulas you might find in a textbook. Lenders build this from the ground up with a really skeptical, cash-focused mindset. Their whole goal is to uncover any hidden risks.
First up, let's look at the top part of the ratio, the numerator. This is all about figuring out how much cash is truly available to pay the bills. And I'm emphasizing truly because we have to slice through all the accounting noise to find out what real, usable cash the business is spinning off.
So how do we get to that honest number? Well, we start with EBITDA, which is a pretty common starting point for cash flow. But we don't stop there. Next, and this is crucial, we subtract capital expenditures. That's the money spent on maintaining and replacing equipment. Why? Because that's not optional spending. That's the cost of just staying in business. Then we subtract the actual cash paid in taxes. What you're left with is a super realistic, conservative view of the cash the company actually has to work with.
All right, now for the bottom part of the fraction, the denominator. These are the fixed charges. And this is where the FCCR really proves its worth. We're not just looking at one or two expenses. We're talking about a comprehensive list of every single mandatory payment a company has to make to keep the doors open and avoid defaulting on its loans.
So what's on this list of bills? You've got the obvious ones, like interest and lease payments. But look at that second one, mandatory principal repayments. This is the game changer. This is the actual chunk of the loan you have to pay back each year, a massive drain on cash that, believe it or not, most other metrics just conveniently ignore. The FCCR drags it right out into the open, and that's what makes it so incredibly powerful.
Okay, so now we know how to build the ratio. But what do the numbers actually mean? How do we use this thing to take a company's financial temperature?
Simple. If the FCR is less than 1, that is a massive red flag. It literally means the company is not generating enough cash from its own operations to cover its most basic, non-negotiable bills. It's bleeding cash, and unless it can find money from somewhere else, it's on a clear path to default.
Now, a ratio of 1.25x, that's kind of the magic number for lenders. This is often the absolute minimum they require. It means the company has a 25% cash buffer over and above what it needs to pay its fixed charges. If you're below this, trying to get a loan is going to be a very, very tough conversation.
And what does a really healthy company look like? Well, anything over 2.0x is considered strong. This tells you the company has a fantastic financial cushion. It can easily handle a dip in business, and it's going to get much better, much more favorable terms from the banks.
They can breathe easy.
Now, you might have heard of a different metric, the interest coverage ratio, or ICR. It's more common, but I want to show you why it's a lightweight. So let's put these two ratios in the ring for a head-to-head showdown. Because when you see the difference, you'll get why the FCCR is the undisputed heavyweight champion of survival analysis.
So here's the fatal flaw of the ICR. It has a massive blind spot. It only checks if a company can afford to pay the interest on its debt. It completely, utterly ignores the elephant in the room, paying back the loan itself, the principal.
This just makes it crystal clear, doesn't it? The ICR checks one box, interest. That's it. The FCCR checks all the big ones, interest, principal payments, and even leases. This is exactly why a company can look totally fine with a great ICR, but secretly be speeding towards a cliff because of a huge principal payment coming due. The ICR is completely blind to it, but the FCCR sees it coming from a mile away. This table really just hammers the point home. Look at the key differences. Principal coverage, ICR ignores it, FCCR includes it. Leases, same story. And the cash flow metric itself. The ICR often uses a looser definition of cash flow, while the FCCR uses that much more conservative, realistic calculation we talked about. It's just a more robust, more honest ratio all around.
And that brings us to the real-world stakes, because this isn't just some academic exercise for analysts. The FCCR has very real, very high-stakes consequences that can literally decide a company's future. Now, this is so important to understand. The FCFR isn't just an analyst's tool. It's actually written into legally binding loan contracts. It's called a maintenance covenant. What that means is the company makes a legal promise to keep its ratio above a certain level, say 1.25x, and it gets tested on this every single quarter. It's like a financial report card they can't afford to fail.
And if they fail, the fallout is immediate and severe. If you breach that covenant, it triggers a technical default. The lenders can then demand you pay back the entire loan immediately. They can jack up your interest rates. They can block you from spending money on anything, from paying dividends to buying new equipment. The FCCR basically gives lenders the keys to the car.
And here's a little modern-day trap for you. Recent changes in accounting rules, especially around leases, can actually distort the numbers that go into the FCCR. So an analyst who just carelessly pulls data from a financial statement without making the right adjustments could end up calculating a healthy-looking ratio for a company that is actually in deep, deep trouble. It's a hidden landmine.
So, let's bring it all home. Profit tells you if a company is winning the game on paper. Cash flow, and specifically the FCCR, tells you if it can afford to stay on the field. It's the ultimate test of financial endurance. So, the next time you see a big headline about a company's record profits, I want you to ask the smarter question. That's nice, but can it actually pay its bills? Can it survive? That's the question that really matters.